Good morning, my Liberated Leadership family. All I'm going to say is when this started originally, I was saying good evening, but because I can be too transparent, I won't go into it. But I am blessed. I continue to be blessed. And so here we are with a good morning. Welcome to Carr's House Leadership Retreats presents Liberated Leadership Lessons Log Day 2. Our leadership lesson logs are about lessons I've learned on my journey as a leader. Journeys can last a lifetime. So that means I am a lifetime learner. I will continue to learn throughout this life that I've been granted. Family, I am yet not a pastor, a minister, or a preacher. I am a leadership coach. Say it with me. Belle is a leadership coach. Belle is a leadership coach. Not just any leadership coach, an executive leadership coach who is a follower of Christ. Before I check out, I want to be sure that my unique gifting is used for the purpose and the ministry I was designed for. My understanding, that's the leadership ministry. Okay, so let's jump right in. First, giving honor to God, who is the author and finisher of my faith, who has bestowed Chorus House as a space for me to facilitate my leadership coaching. I want to give a shout out to my mentors, those that know they're my mentors and those that don't. My tribe, my group, my squad who hold me up. And as we always know, we need those people that'll keep us grounded. So I'll say they hold me down. I want to show appreciation for those who have supported and openly shown support since we've loaded these liberated, because we gotta start with that liberated mindset, these liberated leadership learning. I think I like learning. That's another story. These liberated leadership lessons logs, because they are lessons that I've learned personally through leadership. Additionally, because I'm learning every day, today's lesson is actually going to be one of the more recent lessons with a quick little spin on it. Last time we came together, I mentioned two pastors that I'm desperately following because I do feel that they are transformational leaders in not only ministry, but also in leadership. What I failed to mention was I also have really started to embrace a Bible that I've had for years. I don't get paid for this. I hear people on the internet always telling you what they don't get paid for. I don't get paid for this. I don't get anything from it, but the opportunity to share with you all as leaders a tool. And this is the Maxwell Leadership Bible. The Maxwell Leadership Bible. It's a blessing for all of the scripture that you'll find within the Bible. As much as possible, there are excerpts for leadership or pop-outs for leadership, lessons to be learned, coaching steps within that Bible. Great tool. Again, a member of my tribe gave this Bible to me like maybe 10 years ago. Not 10, maybe about 7, 8 years ago. Are you ready? Day 2 is you already are. I'll let that sit there for a moment. There's your moment. You already are. Whatever has been dropped into you, wherever you're going in leadership, really step back and reflect, because whatever you think you're missing, you already are that thing. Just do it humbly. This is a lesson I learned last week when we had an opportunity to celebrate one of the leaders in my organization who's going on to their next steps in leadership, advancing in their next steps in leadership out of the state. In common fashion, the leader was given an opportunity to address the remainder of the executive leaders in the room and kind of share their leadership journey. Amazing story. This is the leader I've had an opportunity to listen to, follow, hear nuggets from frequently, and also hear them sing because they have a beautiful voice. But as the leader was speaking this time, I found myself taking notes because the nuggets were feeding me as it relates to my next steps in leadership. I captured as much as I possibly could, but one of the salient points that I'll drop right now, the leader closed out by saying, whatever you are aiming to be, know that when you enter spaces, you already are. The aiming thing the thing that you're aiming at, you already are. It's in you. Just do it in an humble way. Titles don't make what's in you. So when you walk into the space, know that you already are whatever you're aiming to be. Which took me to 1 Peter. 1 Peter chapters 4, verses 10 through 11. Each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others. The gift is already in you. Whatever individual, unique gift that you've received, it is already in you. You're to use it to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. Your unique gift is in you. You are to use it to serve the people. So again, connecting it back to this other leader story, wherever you go, whatever you're promoted to, whatever you're aiming for, the gifting that you're going to rely on to be whatever that thing is. I don't even want to say titles in this space. Whatever that thing is that you're pushing for, that space as a leader, it's already in you. Just make sure you're using it to serve the people in order to serve the kingdom. Okay. And I'll give you a snippet of verse 11, but it says, if anyone speaks, they should do so as one who speaks the very words of God. If anyone serves, they should do so with the strength God provides. End scene. It's in you. You have the strength. It's been provided to you. Belle, where are you going with this? So I know I gave you that verse, but I want to more so focus on where the verse came from, who the verse came from. As I shared, they came from 1 Peter chapters 4, 10 through 11. I got nosy because I tell people all the time, oh, I'm professionally nosy. That's not a bad thing. That just means I need to know more about the big picture. So I chose this as an opportunity to delve into Peter. Who was Peter? In this photo, you see Peter upside down on a crucifix. So one of the things that we'll get to is how he chose how he chose to be crucified. You're like, chose to be crucified? Maybe you all know Peter well. What did I know about Peter? I'll pause. Y'all tell me. What does everybody know about Peter? John and Luke, the other disciples, told us what everybody likes to run to when they have, or when they feel they have a little thug in their leadership hearts. Peter was the one that blah, blah, blah. Peter was the thug disciple. He's the one that cut off the Roman soldier's ear. Everybody goes to that. Peter was so much more than that. So as I told you before, I started using heavily now to understand, to do my note taking, my leadership Bible, because I want to know more about the message behind the message of leaders. One of the things that stood out to me, because I told you I set up my own KWL for my family that's not in education, it's the things that I already knew about Peter, what I wanted to know, or what I wanted to learn, and then what I learned. My own KWL, right? So I knew he was this thug. I knew he said things he probably shouldn't say. Oh, that sounds a little bit like me. I knew he cut off the Roman soldier's ear when they came to take Jesus away. Now, that doesn't quite sound like me, but I get it. You never know what you'll do, right? Just kidding, kidding. So, in my leadership Bible, one of the excerpts or pop-outs, it talks to how he was a leader who learned from his failure. That is the title. Sometimes as leaders, we try to avoid the word failure or mistakes. They're allowing him to own that because we do make mistakes. Sometimes what we executed does fail. So I love that they use that there, because what is it that we learn best from? For me, it's my mistakes. Because I've made some. So back to Peter, because like I said, I really wanted to know Peter. Y'all, I keep it really cold in my office. I don't know why. I really wanted to learn Peter, more about him. There were things I knew, things I wanted to learn, things I learned. So he wrote First and Second. He wrote First and Second Peter, and those were letters to the leaders and the churches in Asia Minor, which is current and present day Turkey. Shout out to Turkey, who the people were under Roman persecution for being followers. Greece and Turkey, they're like this. You can really just see that tiny little gap. So Rome, a larger empire, was imposing their beliefs and persecuting believers, those that were found in Asia Minor, current day Turkey. So he filled these letters to the leaders as principles. These were principles for the leaders. That book goes on to say that Jesus groomed him to be a leader. Somebody's grooming you to be a leader. Sit back and think about some of those tasks that you've been asked to do. Sit back and think of some of those actions and exercises that you've been called to do. Some of the places that you've been sent. And when you sit back and go, well, why am I here? Because somebody sees it in you. So Jesus groomed him to be a leader. But Peter started off a little rocky. He was the one that challenged things initially. He started off, as they say, crude and kind of brash. He was well outspoken, just super outspoken. Yet, he still had influence over individuals. He was viewed as an influential individual, even being crude and brash. So, he had it in him already. He had the ability to gain the people. He had the ability to influence. Jesus saw it in him, took it, massaged it a little bit, did that coaching, that he was eventually open to receiving, because just because it is in you doesn't mean it's refined just yet. So he refined that thing in him. And by the time the Holy Spirit was done with him, Peter was known. Now, I'm going to get into this later about your brand, but Peter's brand changed and he became wise, winsome, convictional, and they continue to celebrate his ability to use his influence over the people. It was in him. When he walked into the room, he already was. It was in him. He just didn't know how to use it in the right way. So Peter had to be set on this quick road to humble himself. So there's that thing. Either we are going to come to a space of being humble and being practical and honoring what we're able to do or what we've been called to do as leaders, or there can be these events that'll get us humble. Get along by yourself and check your humbleness scale. What is it leaning towards? I just blessed myself. Great goodness. He was quick with his temper, which we saw earlier. But he, even with his faults, he was a standout leader even amongst the other leaders. So I got to give you these 4 points before I go, just to use as you sit back and do that time alone as a leader, as you're driving into work, in the car. Lessons Peter learned along the way. Number 1, find your security in the Lord. I'm going to say Lord here because it's Carter's House Leadership Retreats. It's based on his grace. Number 2, as a leader, you have to recognize the suffering, that suffering and opposition, they actually come with the job. So if you feel like you're being persecuted, if you feel like people are mistreating you, suck it up. It's a part of the job. How do you still lead through that? In an humble way, because it's in you. Your highest call, this is number 3, your highest call is to use your spiritual gifts to serve and shepherd. Number 4, strive for humility. That takes practice. That's something he had to learn. So I told you, I tell you about him asking to be crucified upside down. He asked because when they decided to crucify him, he felt he was not worthy. He asked because he knew, he recognized, he felt he was not worthy to die in the same manner as the Lord he served, as his master. So I knew he'd been crucified upside down, but the story goes he asked for that because he had found that place of humbleness. Even to his dying day, he still led and represented an humble leader. So it's in you. Tap into it. I'll leave you with one last story if I can. It's my own personal story. Most people know that I've been a principal. Prior to becoming a principal, I was an assistant principal, different places. My final assistant principal's job, I loved it. Didn't want to leave it. Personally, I don't even know if I thought I was ready at first. It was in me because I've learned it was already in me. I didn't want to leave the job. We were in a great space. We were doing great things, and I did not want to leave. But then something shifted in me because I used to dress really casually, real flashy, real cute, but I can't say that it was a professional look always. It was casually professional-ish. But something switched in me that one day, even though I had great influence and great following in whatever I was wearing, in my brain, there was a switch that said, ma'am, start dressing for the job you want versus the one you have. I know you've heard it before. I started breaking out my blazers, pairing them well. I had great influence, but people even started responding to me differently. I didn't change my personality. I didn't change who I was. I just changed what I was wearing because I owned my role that I saw myself in. I'll say it this way. 3 months after I put on a blazer and started walking a little differently, I was a principal. So y'all be amazing. Let me coach. Let me help. Let me support. If you have a need with your leadership team, tell me about your need. Let's get it done. As always, here at Carr's House, we are definitely wrapped in chorus, and I look forward to the work we do together. Have an amazing day.